Hello, welcome to AskTheLawyers.com. Today on Ask the Lawyers, we're talking about an issue that's affecting families all across the country, and that's debt from MLMs. And if you don't know, an MLM is a multi-level marketing company, and they're not all bad, but some of them require people to purchase inventory or classes in order to sell for their company. And when they do that, they convince people, mostly women, a lot of stay-at-home mothers, to put these charges on a credit card. And unfortunately, the FTC has put out a report that shows 99% of people who signs up for these kinds of companies actually lose money instead of making money. So this video is going to be about what people can do if they find themselves in this situation with credit card debt from an MLM, and is there anything they can do to help themselves and their families. So with me today, I brought attorney David Shuster of Shuster Law in Dallas, Texas. David is a debt and bankruptcy attorney, and he's going to talk to us about what options people might have if they find themselves in this situation. So, hi David, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a case where a person has had these kinds of debts from MLM selling on their credit?
Yes, I have. Actually, I have, and it's very, very unfortunate. I mean, often it's somebody that is looking to get income from some other way than just going to work 9 to 5. They have kids or they have other things, and they're looking for additional income. And even if somebody does their research, the companies have a way of making this look very legitimate. And there's no way to get into it without them incurring some credit card debt and loans. And then, it's a very unfortunate situation.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, a lot of the times it's stay-at-home mothers who are trying to supplement their income and help their families. And instead, they really just end up with more debt because they've been promised, well, if you take on this inventory and this debt, don't worry, you'll make it back, you'll make money. But that's not always what happens. So what are the rules about what kinds of debt or what kinds of credit card debt can be discharged in bankruptcy?
Well, debt, any kind of debt can be discharged in bankruptcy. The exceptions to a bankruptcy discharge are for instances where, it's something intentional, something fraudulent, take out a big, at the time you took out a big debt, you kind of knew that it wasn't going to be paid back type of thing, or if it was for an intentional a tort, meaning you set out to commit fraud, or for example, if you were driving drunk, got into an accident and injured people, that's not the kind of debt you can discharge. But certainly something like this is fully dischargeable, and it's a nice way to get some relief if you've been the victim of this kind of unfortunate scam.
Yeah, because it is the person with the credit card debt is the one who possibly had a gray area or fraud perpetuated upon them.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no bad intention with the person who was looking to get engaged into this, and the credit is there for the person to utilize for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. To analogize to maybe a situation where somebody is opening a business and they get out a big loan. You have SBA-backed business loans where a lot of research goes in to figure out if this business is going to be successful before loaning the person $100,000. Okay, even in that situations, businesses can go under in a year or less, right? And so bankruptcy is there waiting for you as a relief, so you don't get stuck in a black hole forever. Well, certainly an instance like this, it's just someone trying to make some money, and they take out $5,000 to $8,000 to $15,000 of credit card debt, and maybe they already had a little bit of more debt as well at the time, and so it becomes completely unmanageable when these companies don't deliver on their promises.
How much credit card debt or what kind of debt to asset ratio would someone need to qualify for bankruptcy in order to discharge this type of debt?
That's a great question. The answer is it depends, but I get that question a lot with respect to bankruptcy, and it has to be just enough where obviously they can't pay it back, right? And so I would say $10,000 is a good minimum, but that's really if the person has just very limited resources, and they're just being able to pay their rent and food, and the prospect of even paying back $10,000 is just completely insurmountable, and they might only have $100 extra each month. So So that's a good minimum, but every situation is different, Kim. I mean, if you have someone that has five or six or $7,000 of debt, but then you ask them some more questions like, oh, well, I'm driving a Ford F-150. Nothing against those vehicles. They can have good value, but I'm driving a Ford F-150 where the loan balance is $20,000, but it's only worth 12, right? So that's something that you can also put into a bankruptcy and discharge that. And some people have tax debt, and so you do want to investigate other things that are going on where this is often just one factor that makes a bankruptcy make sense, even if they don't have a lot of debt. So, the good news for people is bankruptcy attorneys do offer free consultations, usually get on the phone very quickly to assess the situation in 15 minutes or less and determine if you want to take the time out of your schedule to go meet an attorney. So a minimum is, you do need something there as a minimum, but it differs with every situation.
That's really interesting that people could even get an idea of whether it would even be an option for them in a simple 15-minute phone call that wouldn't cost them anything. So how long, is there a certain time limit that you have to have these charges on a card in order for it to get discharged? Like, I feel like if I racked up the card yesterday, I probably can't file for bankruptcy today. Is that correct?
You usually want to wait 90 days. Yes, that's also a good question, Kim. Usually you want to wait 90 days. That's a period where it's presumed to even though we know going into it that there wasn't sort of any intentional fraud here, the presumption is that it was potentially fraudulent if you're inside that 90-day period. So waiting 90 days to actually pull the trigger, not necessarily to contact an attorney, but waiting 90 days to file, that would be a minimum wait period, sure.
Mm-hmm. And that actually seems like a pretty short amount of time. Like, I'm sure a lot of people that purchased inventory or took some classes in order to be a seller, they probably, gave it a good go for a few weeks or months or maybe even years before they decided this just isn't going to work for me. So
that's right, and a bankruptcy case lasts 90 days. Like, so to wait 90 days to file and then 90 more days to get your relief. I mean, that's still only 6 months, and it does take time to meet with an attorney, get the information, pay for the bankruptcy, and so really it all just falls in line, and it ends up being just a quick way to get relief if you have no ability to repay the debt.
So does it matter, like, what kind of charges are on this credit card, or is just credit card debt in general available to be discharged?
Doesn't matter. So if an outside party looking in on the charges, I mean, they're not going to know what's going on, and so they may seek an explanation from the bankruptcy counsel. But no, it doesn't matter. I mean, so typically, you do wait outside that 90-day period, but yeah, I mean, there might be, as they say, some splaining to do, but if it's, to a particular company for a set amount, or 3 or 4 or 5 charges just to this particular company, it'll just have to be explained by the person filing bankruptcy what happened. But no, it doesn't matter if they were required to, purchase inventory or take training classes or whatever it is this scam had them set up to do. The net result is there's a logical and good faith explanation for it, and should be in most cases, really in all cases, conceivably dischargeable debt.
And I think that's a good point. You're saying a good faith explanation, which is exactly what these people have when they get into these situations, is because, they were just trying to do something good for their family, and they turned out to have a situation that they couldn't really do anything about. So let me ask you this. What about a person that has credit card debt and they're watching this video and they go, this isn't really fair. I've been paying my credit card for years. How is it fair that someone can just get rid of their credit card debt when I've been working so hard to pay mine down?
Well, if you're just speaking in general terms, then, any time you're in a situation, like even if it's that person, you do have to be careful, obviously, to kind of step back, sort of philosophically to judge, right? Don't judge. I mean, you don't really know what's going on with that person's life. You don't know the struggles that they've had. And so, to touch on that is if you have debt and you paid it off, great for you. 95% of the clients I meet with, vast majority, Kim, they're good, hardworking people that they were in the same situation as that person that's judging them. And for a long time, perhaps they paid off all their debt at one point in time, but then something happened, right? And so it's good that this form of relief is there for people when they need it, when the law affords them the ability to use it. And what I found is, vast majority of my clients, good, hardworking people and not really looking to get out from anything. They always want to know, is there another option? Can I pay this back? And so when I tell them, kind of lay it out for them, what, looking at your income, looking at your necessities, looking at your debt, this is the length of time you're looking at, then it all kind of makes more sense at that point. And again, this is back to that 15-minute conversation. But to say to be judged, I mean, people judge others for everything. And, when you file bankruptcy, you don't walk around with a big B on your forehead. It's, when you go to get a loan, they'll see it on your credit report, but otherwise people just don't know. And so I would just say that that's kind of, a concern. If you have that concern about being judged, to just kind of get over that and do think about yourself and your family and how quickly you can move forward.
I think that's such an important point about being non-judgmental, because I think that's part of the reason why some of these people get not only involved in the first place, but continue to go along with it once they got involved, because they've already told all their friends and family and they were all excited about it. And now it's sort of like admitting defeat. So I want, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want the viewers to understand that, filing bankruptcy or asking for help or calling a lawyer is not admitting defeat. It is really just, trying to find people that are willing and able to help you. And I bet a lot of your clients, what is the difference when they first come talk to you about their problems and when they leave their office and now they have a plan? Is there a big difference in their emotions?
That's kind of the funnest thing is to watch literally just the weight being lifted off their shoulders as they walk out. Oh, I feel so much better. Oh, I feel so good. And it's just knowing that they have that relief under the law, that before they came and sat down with me, or they may feel a little bit better in the first phone call, but before they sat with me and left the consultation, they just literally did not know the process. They didn't know it was available to them. Mm-hmm. They didn't know that, oh geez, now I can start saving for my kids' college again, or now I can move forward with my life. So being able to give them that knowledge and right away, you just see the when they leave there, which is great. It's a great feeling.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for answering my questions today.
No problem.
Thanks for watching on AskTheLawyers.com. I wanted to mention, if you are in the greater Dallas area and you have any questions about bankruptcy debt, credit card debt from LLMs, or anything else, contact David Shuster at Shuster Law. If you're outside the Dallas area, come to AskTheLawyers.com, where we're going to have more information. We're also putting some links to some of these other issues we mentioned, like the fraud lawsuits against some of these companies. I'm going to put those at the bottom of our post today. So hopefully everybody can learn more about what's really going on with this issue. Also, remember to subscribe to our channel. So until next time, thanks so much. Thanks for watching this episode of Ask the Lawyers.